we go again. This week, your twice-a-month podcast is even 2 days late. But you know what? Life happens, and it keeps happening. Once upon a time, someone told me how they saw independent podcasts go up and down in frequency, depending on how the person making the podcast was feeling. For example, if there was a lot of capital B bad stuff on the news, they podcast less because the world was being too much. I heard that and thought to myself, well, that would not happen to me if I had a podcast, because I only take on things I can finish months before the actual deadline. And that's how I started out podcasting too. I recorded everything months before I was planning on releasing it in order to create a cushion of time for myself. But then I started running into an unexpected issue. While being done months in advance works for webinars and book translations, podcasts are different. I want them to be timely and relevant. Turns out that my months in advance approach rendered certain episodes irrelevant by the time I would have released them. I ended up kicking several podcasts off my release list because too much time had passed. That was a shame because I had already spent a lot of time editing, and my guests had made time to have conversations with me. So I decided to turn this challenge into an opportunity for growth and only record briefly before I was going to release. Well, and look at me now. For the second time in a row, I have not found the time to audio edit the interview with Kenny I was going to share with you, re-record an episode I need to release before releasing the interview with Morgan that is chomping on its bits and ready to go. So here I am, being one of these podcasters who do not meet their self-imposed deadlines because life. So, for the second time in a row, here's some life stuff for you all instead of the intended podcast. After the life I shared about last week, or 2 weeks ago, more life has happened. It has been wonderful and marvelous and unexpected and terrifyingly beautiful. Mostly just beautiful. I put the terrifying in there because life changes are supposed to be terrifying, but really, I feel pretty relaxed, at least right now, apart from the stress that goes along with moving. I'm usually certain of big life choices and feel at peace with them. This particular one is very much in line with my values, and it is more beautiful than I could have imagined a life change like this ever being. So, in a word, life is busy and life is good. So here is to another personal story. Take it as inspiration if you'd like. Yes, we all can change and be ready to change again, as B.F. Skinner would say. Big changes are easy for me to make, because I make them based on my values and what I want my life to look like. Only small choices, such as what flavor of ice cream do I want, are difficult, because my values and what I want my life to look like are not affected by these choices. That's what makes them difficult. Here's the Cliff Notes version of what happened since the last time I told you that people are more important than podcasts. Hold on a second. There's a poodle in this room, and they are chewing on something that I think they shouldn't be chewing on. Indeed, they're chewing on Game's muzzle. Let me trade this for a toy. There are now 3 dogs in a small apartment, and one of them is a poodle, and it's an amazing poodle. His name is Prince. And Game is here too. Game is keeping me the best podcasting company, as always. And she's currently sleepy on a big bed, while the poodle, who's a puppy, is getting more active. That's how puppies work. All right, back to the Cliff Notes version of my life. So, I went back to Mexico City. Someone in Colorado was going to miss me a lot, so I promised to be back in no more than 10 days because people matter the most to me. 2, because I am me, I wanted to beat the 10-day deadline and only went back for 8 days. So I was only in Mexico City for 8 days, in between 2 US visits. My life in Mexico used to fit into a Volkswagen Polo. I now had 8 days to downsize my life to the size of a suitcase and find a taker for the car. And I did. 3, I even found time to meet up with Rachel twice, my wonderful friend who I'm going to miss, before flying back to Denver. 4, And this time I brought the most important reason I had been going back to Mexico with me to the US. My dog. Hold on. I'll have to take another item from the Poodle. They're eating Game's leash now. Okay, so I'm having great podcasting company. It's just that the company is occasionally a little bit distracting, but since I assume you podcast listeners out there are all dog people, I bet you get it. Anyways, by the time I boarded that second flight to the US, I knew that the Mexico chapter was over. I had ended up loving two wonderful humans who were not going to live in Mexico with me. So I was going to live somewhere else with them. I feel left back in the same way, and of course, we were going to turn our lives around and build a new one together. Life decisions that are big in the eyes of mainstream culture are really easy to make. We'll have about 2 months in the US to deconstruct one life, and then we'll go to Ecuador to construct a new one. Puppy, what are you doing? Oh, that's my pen. The poodle puppy found a pen. Hold on. Let me trade it for a piece of food. Game is being a real adult dog, just chilling. And the puppy is being a puppy. You know, puppies will be puppies. And Prince is a wonderful puppy. So, yeah, we'll construct a new life together in Ecuador. It will be beautiful. It will be difficult. It will be unexpected and foggy, and then again filled with the clearest sights from up high on mountaintops. And all the things along the way, because that's just how life goes. How committing to people works. It's never easy, but it's a promise to always do our best and hold on to what we're building and respect each other and our values. Shared values and trust and respect. Those are probably the most important parts, for me anyways. They're shared when it comes to my two wonderful people here, so I want them in my life. I want to grow alongside of them and with them and all the versions of them they are and used to be and are yet to become. And I feel like they are going to do the same thing by my side. This is what joy means to me. The bravery to love and let yourself be loved and go on journeys such as this one together. Oh, the poodle found a muzzle again. Prince, what can I give you for the muzzle? Okay, back to the podcast. The poodle has been demuzzled and been given a toy instead. Yeah, that was the happy story I was going to share. Last week I was busy giving things away, and this week we're busy getting dogs used to each other and also giving things away and researching a bunch of stuff for upcoming life purposes. And then there's something else I'd like to share with you today. There is a more critical story that happened right at the threshold of Mexico and the US. It's a US migration story. I'm an Austrian citizen, meaning I'm part of the ESTA program, which allows me to enter the United States for 90 days at a time, twice a year. I did not realize there was another rule attached to this one. In order to reset your 90-day clock, you need to leave the United States for at least 30 days. Otherwise, your previous stay will count towards your first 90 days. So the 3 weeks I spent here, 8 days before I came back with Game, count towards my first set of 90 days. I only get 90 days minus 3 weeks this time. I knew I needed to show a return flight, but I was not aware of the 30-day rule, so I purchased a cheap flight I wasn't planning on using about 80 days after the initial flight from Mexico City to Denver. The planned duration of my stay, according to the date of my return flight, was longer than permitted because I had left for only 8 and not 30 days between those two stays. No, Poodles, you cannot eat the cord of my microphone. Oh, Prince, how about an egg carton instead? This is what podcasting sounds like with a puppy. Okay, the muzzle has gone into a different room. Let's see what the puppy will find next. So, I hadn't left for 30 days as required, and when the immigration person pointed this out to me, I assumed that made me purchase another return ticket that was well within my allocated time in the US, right then and there in front of them, looking over my shoulder. Or they'd just send me back to Mexico. After all, it's US immigration. But no, they did not. I am clearly the right kind of foreigner. I'm white and I have a European Union passport and I also have a Mexican residency card. And I was lying convincingly both about why I wanted to live in Mexico. So I painted this romantic pictures of houses tumbling down a hillside and housemates taking care of my house. And of having fallen in love with the winter in Colorado and wanting to do more hiking here with my friends. And no, there were no significant others. I'm really sorry I didn't know about this rule, the 30-day rule. Otherwise, of course, I would have respected it. But now that I know, of course, I'll purchase a new flight, yada, yada, yada. And it is my Austrianness that makes me miss winters, you know. Smile a disarming smile at the person with the power to let me through immigration or not. I can pull off confident cuteness because of the way I look, like that little dragon dinosaur creature in Jurassic Park 1 that looks all cute and then screams and fluffs its neck skin, revealing its true nature. So, that person got the cutesy creature, my big hazel eyes and my white skin and my German accent and my oh so innocence, all of which, I am sure, are related to my white skin and that ridiculous passport I have not earned but been given due to the coincidence of where I happened to be born. So, just like that, pretty much, they let me go. This is crazy to me. If I had a different skin color, there is no way that would have happened. If I didn't have an Austrian passport and a German educated sounding accent, proving I am from one of the quote unquote good countries, there is no way they would have let me just stroll into the US without requiring proof of a return flight well within the desired limits. I am so fucking privileged, I can't even believe it. So, this is the second thing that stood out to me over the last 2 weeks. The first thing is, I am so incredibly lucky to have met two amazing people. And the second thing, it is so fucked up what passports and skin color let you get away with. Not that this is news to me, but I thought US immigration was just one of these systems where there was no leeway for anyone, no matter how white, rich, or otherwise privileged. And yet, here I am, not having purchased a second flight, just being, yeah, indeed, trusted by this officer person. Go on ahead, have fun in the snow, just change your flight sometime. What a mess, you listeners up there. What a mess. The officer was probably unconscious of the bias that happened to work in my favor on this occasion, but that doesn't feel like it makes it any better. On some level, it makes it worse. That's all I have for you today. That and a poodle who has now wrapped themselves in a cord. Okay, I'm gonna let the poodle outside, out of the bedroom where I'm podcasting from. Okay, the poodle has been let out, and there's another person home, and this is where I'm wrapping this episode up. Thanks for listening, and sooner or later we will get back to our regularly scheduled release dates. Bye everyone, and happy training!